Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to Common English Mistakes. Don't just learn, improve. So today we're going to look at some phrases to talk about everyday movements around town, around a city. People make a lot of grammatical mistakes with these, but also say things which maybe aren't wrong, but things that a native speaker would never say and aren't natural. So, after watching the video and learning these phrases, you're going to avoid these errors and sound much more like a native speaker. So anyway, up here I've got one mistake and one sentence which isn't wrong, but something people would never say. So just pause the video and try to make the sentences better. And well done if you said, I go to work at 8 o'clock and I go home at 5. So let's look first at the verbs or phrases we can use to talk about movement. Generally, we want to be using go with the preposition to. Go to the supermarket, go to my friend's house, go to the cinema. But we can also be more specific with the verb. Walk to, cycle to, drive to. We can use a phrase. Take the bus to, take the train to, take the metro to. But when we talk about arrive, which has another mistake that I'm going to cover in a later video, much more natural to use the verb get to talk about everyday situations. For example, I got to the cinema 5 minutes before the film started. And the other one to watch out for is the verb leave. Leave never has a preposition. So leave the supermarket, leave my friend's house, leave the cinema. So that's general places we go to. For most of us though, the most common places we go to are either work, school or university. And the important thing with these three is that we just add these words to the verbs here with no pronoun, no article to make a phrase. So for example, I go to school at 8 o'clock. I normally cycle to work. I take the bus to university. I get to work at 9 o'clock. And again with leave, just a two-part phrase. I normally leave work at 5. I left school after my last class. I left university at 8 o'clock. And the final one to watch out for is when we talk about our house. Generally, we don't use the word house, we use the word home as part of a phrase. And unlike the others, we don't use a pronoun, we don't use an article, but we also don't use a preposition. So we don't say, I go to home, we say, I go home at 5 o'clock. I walk home if it's sunny. I take the bus home. I get home at 6 o'clock and I leave home at 9. For leave, people do also say leave my house, leave the house. I think that's a British English phrase, but just to keep it simple, I would just always say leave home. So explanation over. Before we get to a bit of practice, today's question is, what's the first thing you do when you get home? For example, the first thing I do when I get home is have a cup of tea. So please guys, do write your answers in the comments. It helps you because you can practice the language and I can correct if necessary. But it also helps me because more comments mean this channel will be recommended more and help it grow. So please do that guys, and if you haven't already, do hit that subscribe button. Anyway, now let's practice and improve. Just pause the video and put one of the verbs or phrases from today's lesson into these sentences in the past to talk about my day yesterday. And well done if you said, I left home at 8 o'clock. I went to work on foot. I got to work at 8:30. I left work at 5 o'clock, but it was raining, so I went home by bus. And finally, I got home at 10 to 6. So now just pause the video and write, say, or discuss the same sentences for you about yesterday or the last time you went to school, work, or university. So that's basically it for today. Quite simple phrases, but just because they're simple doesn't mean people don't either make mistakes or say very unnatural things. So make sure you learn and know these phrases, and if you do, you're going to sound much more like a native speaker and sound really natural. Anyway, that's it from me today. Do make sure to check out my other videos or other playlists. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in another video soon. Until then, see ya.